Hey again everyone, so I have another review for you today, and that is on New Girl by Paige Harbison, and as always I'll read you the back of the book. The queen bee's missing, will you be next? It's hard fitting in as the new girl among the rich elite at Manderley Academy, especially when you're assigned the room of perfect popular Becca, who's disappeared. What really happened to Becca, and what other sinister secrets lurk in the school's dark hallways? Learning to survive Manderley's cutthroat social scene, you can't help but follow in Becca's footsteps, even falling for Max, the boy she left behind, although sometimes it seems that Becca's still out there, watching you take her place, waiting to take it back. Okay, so to start off with, you guys probably remember in my book haul / in my mailbox I had this book, and I hated the cover, and that still stands. I cannot stand this cover. I think it's tacky and horrible and just makes me cringe, and I like the back that's a notice board, and that kind of has some significance in the story, but I much prefer the US cover because that's kind of a more relevant front cover and just looks nicer, and I think the cover needs to be more sinister. I think this cover is too bright and happy for what like the actual story is. I think it gives the wrong impression, I think, on the book and what it's actually about, and it's going to be really hard for me to review this book because I didn't like it, and it's such a shame to say that because I really wanted to like it but I didn't, and I don't want this to be a bitchy review because I don't want to be horrible about the book because it's not the book. I know that it's my own personal preference and this book didn't tick any of those boxes for me. So our protagonist, this girl, we don't actually know her name until the very last page, and I understand why that is. It's because obviously she moves to the school and everyone just calls her New Girl, so her own sort of identity is eclipsed by this shadow of Becca, the student that's disappeared. But I didn't like not knowing her name. It was weird, so I didn't like that. And so she's struggling to fit in, but everyone there resents her and hates her because she's in Becca's old room and they think that she wants to take her place, etc, etc. We do get Becca's point of view as well, from the year before, so we have our protagonist and then another chapter will be in Becca's point of view, and I seriously hated Becca. She's a pathological liar. She is so self-centered, complete bitch. She just cares about herself. So reading her point of view was horrible, and she's the complete opposite of the sort of person that I am, complete opposite of the sort of people that I'm friends with. So I couldn't relate to her, and it just made me resent her more. I didn't like reading about her. She's such a bad person, and I honestly, I just hated reading her point of view. For example, she wants this boy Max because all these other girls fancy him and he hasn't dated any of them, so she wants what everyone else wants, but she wants to be able to get it, and she gets him, and then she cheats on him basically with his best friend. His best friend coincidentally is the boy that her roommate Dana is head over heels in love with and has been for like 4 years, and she does that, and to me that's the sort of mentality that I just can't stand. So reading about it is not fun, so I didn't like that at all. And then our new girl protagonist, she sort of starts to like Max. Max says, you know, he likes her, but they can't do anything because he was with Becca and that would be weird. But I don't understand why they start to like each other because they don't spend any considerable length of time together. They just suddenly 1 minute like each other, and I didn't get that at all. I didn't see why he liked her. She comes across as very boring and plain, and the same for him. He has this complete flatline personality. I didn't see any change in him throughout the whole book, and so he was boring to read. The character's approach to sex, it was just casual sex everywhere, and there was no sort of love or loyalty, and while I may be a romantic and an optimist and like to read about that in those situations, there was none of that in here, and so I kind of didn't enjoy reading it for that reason. I know people have casual sex where there's not love involved. I mean, I'm not naive, but I don't like to read about it. I like to read something a little more optimistic than that, and it's kind of heartbreaking for me. And Soul Destroying, it didn't do anything for me. I was a little heartbroken. So reading it was really quite a challenge for me because it just wasn't the sort of thing that I like to read. So I don't want you to go away from here thinking that this is a dreadful book, because the actual mystery as to Becca's disappearance was good, and I think the suspense was kept up, although some parts did feel a little repetitious. But overall that was good, and I think for someone who doesn't mind any of the things that I don't like will really, really enjoy this book. But for me, because it was a series of things that I didn't like, just one thing after another was one of my pet peeves, and so I couldn't really like it for that reason, and I feel really horrible for not liking it, but it just wasn't for me. I think fans of things like Gossip Girl and Pretty Little Liars will like this sort of thing because it's along those lines. I mean, it is a contemporary retelling of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, but I really just couldn't. It just wasn't my thing, and I know I'm coming across as a bitch, and I don't want to, because it's very rare that I don't enjoy a book at least on some level, but for me this was just like my nightmare in book form. So I'm really disappointed. So I don't think I can rate it, because I don't think my rating will be a fair representation on the book, because my own personal tastes are what have made this book bad in my eyes, but for other people it will maybe awesome. So I don't want you to go away from watching this review and think, God, that must be an awful book. It's not. It's just because it contains things that I don't like to read. So yeah, if you've read it, let me know what you thought of it, because I'd love to hear what the other people did enjoy it, because I feel really horrible right now. And it has kind of put me off reading her first book, Here Lies Bridget, which is currently sitting on my shelf. So I don't know when I'm going to get to that. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry I didn't enjoy the book, really sorry, but I suppose that's life, really. Thanks for watching, and bye.